go?
Yes.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode. Are we on 3?
It's
Episode
episode
3.
3. Let's
Wow, the
go.
Six-0 podcast. Here we are again. We're going to be talking about some college football and a little NFL today. We are your hosts, the smartest guys in the room. I'm Walker. This is Jordan.
Let's go.
And as you can see, I have a peculiar background today. It's actually a Tennessee background. It's trash.
Yes. Can we make fun of him real quick for losing once again?
Absolutely. We can open up the show with a banger by saying you guys lost to Pitt at home. That was kind of hilarious.
Yes, it's kind of awesome. And I don't know if you saw this, but like Milton, the quarterback for Tennessee, apparently I didn't see this, but apparently there was a lot of memes of him just overthrowing the hell out of everybody. Like it was like bad. Like it was like 30 yards over the receiver's head. But I guess that's a good thing that he has an arm, just too much of one, or doesn't know how to control it.
Cannon.
I guess not. I don't know, but he's a transfer from like Michigan. But enough about those bums. But we just wanted to make fun of them real quick. Yeah, they suck. It's my most second hated team.
Yeah, dedicated the background.
Yeah, it's my second hated
dedicated
team.
The background.
You all suck. We hate you, Rocky Top. You stink. All right. I would go on a bigger rant, but we don't have that kind of time over here.
Yeah, we'll save that for its own episode. We'll have
honestly, yes.
Episode 68. We hate Tennessee, and then we go on for a whole hour. But
yes.
What's up next?
Well, first we'll talk about a top 10 matchup. Game day was there. Iowa State. Ooh. Number 10 versus number 9. Iowa comes into their house for the. Do you know what trophy they're? What the name of the trophy they fight for is?
I have absolutely no idea. Does it have to do with corn?
No, the Cy-Hawk Trophy.
The what?
The Cy-Hawk. Cy-Hawk. SCY Hawk.
That's kind of cool, honestly.
The Cyclone, but they get to keep it. So they kept that. So it seemed like I didn't get to see too much of the game because I was at the UGA game, but
so was I, by the way.
So from what everything I could tell is it was a 10-point game. So you think, oh, it was close and whatever. No, apparently Iowa just smacked them. They had 4 turnovers on them. They had 4 turnovers the week before too. So they're like +8 in turnovers.
Yeah.
So, but Goodson, here's a fun fact. Goodson, their running back for Iowa, South Forsyth Middle School alum.
What?
Yes, he went to South Forsyth Middle School before transferring to like North Gwinnett or something like that.
Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, for everyone listening to the pod, both me and Jordan attended South Forsyth Middle School.
War Eagle, baby. Let's go.
We might have just been the Eagles.
Go Eagles, baby. Let's go.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, exactly. But
anyway,
Brock Purdy threw 3 picks. I was discussing with you. He's not that good. What do you guys?
I mean, I kind of told you the same thing. I don't remember if it was on maybe the first episode of the pod or maybe it was on one of our practice runs, by the way, from the vault. You guys haven't seen that yet. Oh, yeah. I'm referencing the vault. Anyway, but I definitely remember saying there's a certain stigma about guys that I feel like who have started a long time, especially in college football. You look at guys like, what was his name? Browning at Washington. You remember him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of like, there's a thing. People come in, they start as a freshman or sophomore, and you're kind of like, hey, this guy's good.
Like you're on a good
Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm's the same way. Yeah. And you're like, wow. And everyone just like, they just put this like huge expectation on their head almost because it's like, hey, they're this good when they're this young. So in a couple years, they're going to be studs. Because I remember hearing, a couple of years ago, they were like, oh, yeah, Brock Purdy, he's going to be the next guy. He's going to be the next first-round pick.
Uh-huh.
When
they go up against those good teams in the games dependent on them.
He doesn't look like he's gotten much better. Just like a lot of those guys. It's unfortunate. Like, I'm not like I don't like him or anything. But, I feel like maybe the expectations on him were a little high. Maybe because of his experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where like if you're sitting around and all that kind of stuff, like you'll get some hype. But that Iowa defense though is pretty good.
They're always like that. I hate to compare them to like, I don't know. It's maybe it's a visual thing in my head, but I've always considered Iowa almost like the Steelers. You know what I mean? They're like they have the same color scheme, at least
Yeah.
the NFL comparison. They always have like they're just always tough. Like they're power run and they're
Corn-fed boys.
gritty. Yeah, they're corn fed. They're defense. They're just like I don't know. They're gonna beat you up. The final score might be 16-3, but they'll beat you up.
Exactly. They'll make you
But anyway, they might be the real deal. I mean,
Yeah, they had two.
it's funny.
They smacked Indiana. That's who they played first.
Yeah, exactly. And like those were two teams coming into the season that looked good. So, or I mean, were supposed to be good. At least.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Iowa's just that good. You know what I mean? But I haven't personally seen Iowa play yet. I've seen the scoreboard, but I do. I frequent the college football subreddit, and for some reason, I see a lot of I guess people with the Iowa banner or whatever on there, and a lot of them are basically saying that they don't think their team is very good. You know, and they're kind of like, "Oh no, we suck." And I don't really know where that's coming from. So I don't know if you can speak on that, or if we're just like, no, I just haven't seen them enough to know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sleeper in the Big Ten, I would think. They still got Penn State, they got Wisconsin. But other than that, I mean, I guess at Northwestern, at Maryland, I mean, those are two potentially maybe upsets. But other than that, like really the schedule doesn't look too hard. They don't have to play Michigan, they don't have to play Ohio State. So they could very well, I mean, go into the Big Ten championship with a loss or two. They got Penn State at home. They got to go to Madison with Wisconsin, but that I mean, we've seen this before when remember that game a few years ago where they were a game away against Michigan State to get into the playoffs. So it could be something like that again for them. I don't know, but
yeah, we'll have to see.
They took care of business. Like they definitely sounded
2
like
weeks in a row. I mean,
yeah. Against, like we said, two respectable teams. Iowa State, the trendy pick, now it's looking a little tougher. They gotta run. They gotta beat Oklahoma twice now, most likely. And
to even have a shot.
Yeah, to even have a shot. If they could have split on one of those games, they who knows, they might have been okay with everything. So we'll see. Still a lot of season left to be played. So
for sure.
Next game I want to touch on, Texas A&M, Colorado. So speaking of middle school alums, the starting quarterback like destroyed his ankle. Is going to be out until like October, I think. The backup quarterback that went to Lanier High School, but also apparently went to Riverwatch.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he kind of stunk it up. It seemed like the whole game, because I was checking the score, it was like 3-0, 7-3.
Yeah,
like it was like a low scoring game going in the fourth quarter. You'd think the scoreboard's broken or something, but apparently it was a very low scoring game. I don't know what that says about the quarterback situation over there, because I think King, yeah, 1 for 2, 8 yards. He didn't play much of the game, and then the other guy
Did he get hurt?
Yeah, he like hurt his ankle or something. He'll be out like all the way through like October. But they didn't look that good. That would have been a big day for the Pac-12 if Colorado could have won that game. But
yeah, for sure.
It seemed like that offense couldn't do nothing. Yeah, the quarterback kind of stunk it up. The quarterback didn't even get to 100 yards. He only had 89 yards. What are you doing? So, but that's a tough one for them. It will be interesting to see how Texas A&M kind of goes from there with the backup quarterback, because I think he's like a freshman or a sophomore.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely a young guy.
We've heard a lot. There's been a lot of Texas A&M hype.
They got Arkansas coming up,
and
they got Alabama.
We want to segue straight into the next game, but
Auburn, Ole Miss, LSU. But yeah,
yeah.
But there's really not much to say about that game. Low scoring game. King out for a while.
It was just a little surprising, I should say, but also once again, I mean, we were at the UAB game. I didn't get a chance to watch that game. I just saw the scoreboard, and yeah, I was surprised.
Well, speaking of that, let's just go to the UGA game, because I'm not gonna lie. Before that game, I was nervous because JT was out, and I was thinking UAB. I'm like, they're a full caliber team. You know, we can't go in sleepwalking because we've seen it before with Nicholls State and all that kind of stuff, and That game sucked. That was the worst game of all time, but that's a different
That
story.
actually was. Speaking of the Nickel State game, sorry, I just wanted to put this in there because I was at that game.
I was too.
Hottest game I've ever been to. It was so hot. And
Oh
final
yeah,
score was like
it was definitely
26-24 or something.
Oh yeah, I would agree with you on that take. It was terrible, but I was nervous, right? So, anyways, and then I hear JT's gonna be out, so I'm like, are you kidding me? And we're gonna see Carson Beck. I'm like, I'm kind of interested to see how he's gonna be like. And then
See, I wasn't as nervous for that same reason though. I was kind of like, you know what? I was like, our team is good enough. We can take care of business.
I was more
to see some of the
intrigued.
young guys play.
Yeah,
I want to see Carson Beck get some reps.
Well, I was nervous before JT came in. I'm like, we got to come in focus. We can't go sleepwalking because then this game's gonna be more stressful than it needs to be. If we come in focus, we'll blow them out. But then JT was out, and then I got kind of nervous, and then Carson Beck. It was more if I was intrigued by Carson Beck, but it was still like an unknown. But then reports started coming out that Stetson, or the mailman, was coming in. And honestly, I was in line going into the game when I got the alert that Stetson was starting. I honestly felt better about that because at least we know what we have with Stetson. And Stetson's like won some SEC games and everything, so I was feeling pretty good. But then, I was still a little nervous. And then on the second play, we chuck it down to Jermaine Burton for a touchdown. Then I felt good.
I was telling the people I was watching with that too. I was just kind of like, you know what? I felt so much better. And right after that play, that was Stetson and Georgia telling me that this is over already.
Oh yeah, and
even though I wasn't really worried, but it was kind of like
I don't know what UAB's game plan was because they're a well coached game. They had a ton of penalties that were terrible, and what were they doing? It was literally chuck after chuck, like one play drop. It was ridiculous.
They were running man or something. They were doing bump and run, and we could just
and a receiver there too. Like Arian Smith, what are you doing with that?
Yeah, you're not. I don't know.
Our friend of the podcast, Brock Bowers. My goodness,
Bowers, come on the podcast.
Oh my goodness,
second fastest recorded speed or something in college.
You see Lad McConkey following him on that touchdown too. He was looking pretty fast too. The white guys, let's go. We love it.
Be careful with that.
They gotta get some love too. But no, that was unbelievable. Like I saw that safety like coming because that sideline was closer where I was at. I saw him coming through. I'm like, they just turned it up. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, what's up? But you know the two quarterbacks that's had 5 touchdowns and a half in SEC play, the SEC quarterbacks that have had it. Can you guess the two?
Stetson Bennett.
Yes.
Oh geez. Wait, is this Georgia?
SEC quarterbacks.
There've only been 2?
I think so.
It's Burrow?
Yes. Joe Burrow.
I promise I didn't know that, guys.
Joe Burrow.
Or I promise I didn't rehearse that answer.
Against Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So 2 in the history books, Stetson Bennett, Joe Burrow, basically the same quarterback. And we got another quarterback controversy.
So. Stetson Bennett, first overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft.
Heisman Trophy. Let's go.
Stetson Bennett, come on the podcast.
And I like this too. And I told fellow listener to the podcast, #1 fan, Trey Farrow, during the game. Shout out to Trey Farrow. I know you're listening.
Shout out Trey Farrow.
The 2 best quarterback performances in UGA in the at least maybe ever or in the last 10 years or so, Stetson Bennett and Grayson Lambert. How did that happen?
That's a great question. It's kind of like how if you look at the the quarterback passing touchdowns in a game record and number 3 or 4 on there is Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn threw 6 touchdowns in a game for who was it? The Packers or someone who came in as a backup quarterback, throws 6 touchdown passes and he's never done anything before or after that game.
It was on.
He's in the record books.
So yeah, it was just one play shocks. It was honestly unbelievable. I don't know at what point they were like, you know what, let's put some safeties back or something like that.
See, my thing is I feel much better about that win than usual. And it's because typically Georgia likes to, play down to their opponents. I feel like We get in these games where we should blow these teams out, and like, you know, I mean, we've had Fromm in the past or something, and like we'll score 24 points against UAB, and we're gonna like 24-0.
Yeah.
I mean, like Clemson beats those teams 70-7. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
And
whole
I'm kind of like, so I liked what I saw. We
blowout,
looked
but like
explosive. We looked dynamic.
oh,
I still kind of wish
the defense was disgusting, pure usual. They were just that D line just destroyed everybody. Yeah. Channing Tindall, shout out to you. You have been fantastic in the past 2 games. He's so fast.
Channing, come on the podcast,
please. He's so fast. That was ridiculous. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis ran after a quarterback all the way from like midfield.
Honestly, he ran after. I was about to say that was like. I mean, we had a lot of obviously, you know, 5 touchdown passes, and then what was it? Keely Ringo's pick, but that might have been my favorite play of the whole game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Him running that quarterback down from like from the hash.
The quarterback still got a first down.
Looking like 3 times his size, 350 pounds, and just like grabbing him by the ankles. That was like, that's fantastic. Anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I think that's about it for Georgia UAB.
And yeah, nothing. We just go on little UGA tangents for a little bit. But I was gonna mention, I told you I got this pick right. I said my head said Texas, but my heart said Arkansas. Pig Suey, baby. Coach Pittman.
The same thing, but I did end up officially picking Texas, unfortunately.
Well, welcome to the SEC. Horns down. They got destroyed. That was the game. Oh, I did it. I'm doing it.
15-yard.
I'm doing it every single time.
15 yards on Jordan.
I'm convinced the Big 12 did that because they knew Texas was leaving, and they're like, let's do whatever we can to like get them to stay, and just say like nobody else can do like the horns down or whatever. That I'm going with that. But that was just a game that Texas just did not show up. They just walked in and they just got destroyed from like the start. They tried to make it a little interesting before the half, but nah, Arkansas was just too good. Good for Coach Pittman. That was a big win because that's like their biggest win in the last few years.
Oh, for sure.
Trash before that. But you could tell in Coach Pittman's first year last year that like they were definitely it was definitely a different vibe to it.
For sure. Yeah. I remember last year, I don't know specifics, but I definitely remember there were a couple games where I was like, that was a close loss. And I feel for him because I'm like
they fought for it.
You play such a tough schedule.
He made
Felipe are a good team.
Felipe Franks looked decent on Arkansas. That's impressive amongst itself.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I'm proud of him. I want him to win every game except for the one against us. I'll tell you that.
We got them in like 3 weeks, I think, in the head.
Yeah, honestly, that'll be the first like.
But they got Texas A&M too before that, so we'll see if they're done, if they can be undefeated before that game, or coming into playing us and everything. But yeah, but they just came in and they just destroyed them. Well, I wonder if Texas is kind of regretting that SEC decision or not, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny to think about too, because I'm like that Arkansas is at the bottom of the barrel almost of the SEC, so it's kind of like if you can't hang with them, then how are you going to do with the rest of us?
And now Texas, like they've already switched quarterbacks for next week. They're starting the other guy. If you didn't know that. Casey Thompson. I think it's because they had kidding. I don't know what they're kind of trying to do. It's Texas should never be bad with the amount of resources they have, but
I 100% agree.
It's kind of funny though. So another game I want to talk about, Notre Dame and Toledo. Speaking of sus, Notre Dame's had back-to-back sus. They almost lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, they almost lost to Florida State, almost lose to Toledo. I remember Toledo was up at one point, weren't they?
Oh yeah, they were up. They were up with like a minute and a half, I think. And like literally 30 seconds later, Notre Dame went and scored. I think Cone, he like broke his like a finger, and they popped it back in place, and then the next play he threw a touchdown, which is pretty cool, but not as cool.
That's kind of sick.
That is kind of baller. I'm not gonna lie. But
someone link it down below, like podcast viewers.
Yeah, someone send the link down, or you can just look it up on YouTube. But
the subs.
But yeah,
We'll
they
see
scored
which one
pretty
happens
quickly,
first.
which was a little disappointing because it would have been really funny if they lost. But they're looking suspect, especially with FSU. They lost on the last play of the game to Jacksonville State on a Hail Mary.
Oh, have to talk about this.
Yeah, they're even that makes Notre Dame even look more sus.
FSU fans, I was beginning to hype you guys up after a close game with Notre Dame, but now I think Notre Dame just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame's too good, or at least they're having a crappy start to the season. But yeah, that didn't help their case either. Because how you gonna? I was with you. I'm like that could be like momentum building. We played against
that touchdown was. I feel like when I went and looked,
that was probably one of the worst Hail Mary defenses I've ever seen in my life.
To me, it was like lack of effort. Like, dude just gets mossed and then just like doesn't try to tackle him. He's just like, yeah, game's over, and just like trots by him. And I'm like, bro, that was pathetic.
That was terrible.
And then we got to talk about the dude.
Are they ever going to be back? Honestly, Florida State. Like,
I don't know.
It seems like after Jameis left, like it's just all gone downhill. Like, and I don't know how much they put into like their facilities or whatever, but it really seems like a crappy job to have right now. But they're doing pretty well in basketball, so I guess they're a basketball school now. I don't know.
Again, we also talk about that. What was he, a lineman that proposed to his girlfriend?
I don't care what.
After losing that game to like the
Jacksonville State celebrating in the background. Couldn't have waited like the next day or like at dinner or something after the game.
Wait for the next game. Like,
exactly. Like I just don't understand the logic. Like it would have been
maybe the logic was he's like, we're not gonna win a game, so
I don't want
to do it now.
Just imagine if she said no. Worst day ever.
That would be awful.
I don't know. I just don't understand like the logic with that. Like you just like it would have been one thing if you just lost, right? You lose by 10 or something.
Lose on the very like last.
But like a total heartbreaker, a total heartbreaker like that. I don't know if they're good or not, but a total heartbreaker like that, like
it showed me almost that like he doesn't care.
Exactly.
I know some things are much bigger than football games.
Yeah. But also you have to do it on the field though. Like you could have done it like, later that night or the next day. Like
if they won the game against Notre Dame and then he did it, that would have been sick.
Or if they just won the game in general.
True.
Like, he might have jinxed it. He might have jinxed it. He might like, oh, we got this in the bag. Like a win, I'm gonna propose my girlfriend. Like all this kind of stuff. And I don't know. Just people make no sense. Like have some context clues. I don't know. And speaking of Florida teams look at sus, Miami sus. We talked about it earlier on the podcast. We talked about it. We hinted at it last.
We both called it. We both said that game was getting hyped up, and we both said Alabama was going to beat them by like 40.
And speaking of that, like too, like we said it last week. We said Alabama's great and all, but has anybody brought up that maybe Miami just sucks? Maybe that confirmed that between Miami barely beating App State, respectable team, but if you're Miami, you should kill them.
Exactly, especially if you're ranked.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but Nick Saban's been in a bad mood lately. He's been kind of complaining in the press conference. He's like, we're not as good as everybody thinks. We still got all this stuff like the work on all this kind of stuff. We aren't there yet, all that kind of stuff. He's kind of been hinting like, this team's in for a rude awakening if they don't start stepping up, I guess. So he's not, and you got to trust Saban. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's coach talk where you're just like, just shut up. I'm trusting Saban on this one. Like maybe he's seen some stuff that he's obviously not happy about, and he's not liking the rat poison, I guess he's saying, of everybody hyping him up. So kind of with that, but
I feel like Saban should get over that one.
Yeah, I think Saban should just retire.
Like everyone's hyping you up. I'm like, oh, Alabama, ranked number one every single year, the whole season.
It'll be interesting. Going into that Florida game, the swamp, like how that's gonna go, because everyone's been hyping over. They're like, oh, just another same year, Bama's sick, and he's like, no, not the case. And Miami looking a little. They got absolutely destroyed at Saban isn't happy. So that's the thing with Miami. But we'll talk about the game of the week. This past week, Oregon, big dub for the Pac-12, goes into Columbus, Ohio, gives Ryan Day his first regular season loss, and that was just the game where like it was obviously close and everything, but that was a game where you just said Oregon was the better team, like they deserved it, kind of thing. It wasn't any kind of like some kind of BS or like any other excuse. Oregon was just better. And speaking of that, Ohio State's run defense may be the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, they gave up like 200 yards against Minnesota, and then they give up like 5,000 yards against Oregon. That 170-yard touchdown was the worst defense I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
that was just untouched 70 yards. CJ Vervell or something like that. He had like 3 touchdowns. But that coaching staff at Ohio State got finessed big time. They got destroyed in that game. Like, I don't know how much you watched of it, but I watched most of the game.
I didn't. That was another game. Unfortunately, I saw the score. I remember we were actually sitting in the stadium at Georgia, though, and a lot of people were starting to like chatter. They're like, Ohio State's about to lose, you know. And then when it finally came through and it was official, like, everyone found out at the same time, and they were like, oh my God, Ohio State just lose.
We're like, let's go. Yeah, and did you see? I don't know if you saw the CJ Stroud like pick that kind of ended it.
No,
that was the worst throw ever. It was like, I don't know what down it was, but he was like kind of rolling towards the sideline. He just kind of like just threw it right to the Oregon guy. Literally, it was like right to him, and they fell down and then they won. It was terrible. He actually had a pretty decent game before that, but the offense should be fine with them. But
I think
that was. I don't want to say the bad loss because Oregon was obviously ranked, but it wasn't great. They got kind of dominated.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're in a weird kind of transitional period. I mean, just quarterback alone is such a big deal, I guess, when you're moving off a 2-year starter like Justin, or was he 3? No, he just did 2 years. Still, but when you're moving off someone like that and then transitioning to someone so young.
He's also like a redshirt freshman.
I was going to say, it's not like you're transitioning. It's not like a Tua passing to a Mac Jones who's like a senior or something, Yeah. It's like this is a kid. People forget that, that guy's like, what, 19 years old?
Yeah, not everyone's a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields who just walks in and just starts balling out from the beginning. I'm
not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he has a lot of
I think he's pretty solid. I mean,
and also there's people behind him that want to take his spot.
Yeah,
which I'm sure doesn't help his psyche.
Well, they got got one guy, Quinn, who reclassified right behind him. So if he keeps on stinking it up halfway through the year, if the other guy starts, figuring out the system and everything, there was no chance he was going to start anyways because he didn't come to campus until August or whenever it was. Yeah. But I think it's like halfway through the season, he's looking a little sus. Other guys start figuring out the system. He's going to start over him. Simple as that. But
it's tough. But I mean,
they don't need to worry about the quarterback right now, to be honest. They need to worry about that crap defense. That was just the past 2 weeks. That run defense has been sus.
Like I said, it's definitely not all on him. I'm sure he probably feels that way, maybe. But I don't think it's on. I don't think it's as much on him. I just think it's tough being in that spot.
Yeah, especially on like a national stage on those kind of big 3 teams that make the playoff like every year.
We are talking a lot about Ohio State losing, but like also we can flip it a little bit.
Yeah, we gotta give
Oregon's better than I thought they were.
Yeah, no, they definitely balled out. That's a big dub for the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 has been taking L's. Oregon's got to be that team that makes the playoffs. Now the question is, though, can Oregon even afford a loss in the Pac-12? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because the Pac-12 is so crappy.
I think
UCLA got up against LSU, but somebody else that looked crappy, USC, they got destroyed by Stanford. I said on the podcast, they're 17-point favorites. They should take care of business. Stanford's not good. Instead, they get destroyed. And that created Clay Hellengate fired. About time. He should have got fired like three weeks ago. Nice guy, but he's a Walmart version of Mark Richt. Nice guy, but not.
Sometimes you don't want a nice guy. Sometimes you want someone who's mean. Sometimes you want someone who's tough and someone who's going to push the boundaries
He
of
was
your
just in
program.
over his head, honestly. At USC, LA, like elite program, like he was just in over his head. Like even during they haven't. Let's just say they haven't been good since the Sammy D days. Sam Darnold, friend of the podcast, get on the show. We love you, but
Sam Darnold come on the podcast.
they were crap. He was crap when Sammy D was there. It was terrible play calling or like stupid timeouts or whatever it was, just bad clock management. But Sammy D and Adoree Jackson and Juju Smith and all those talented players that Sarkisian brought in bailed him out. So that was basically the thing. Like with how good those teams were, they should not have had 3 losses Sammy D's first year. Sammy D should have started in the first place, but they started Max Brown. I don't know why. But they won the Rose Bowl. But okay, great. But that team should have made the playoffs. Next year, they win the Pac-12. They're 10-2 or 11-2 or whatever they were. They had more talent than that. They had like Michael Pittman and Tyler Vaughns and some good players over there with the second year Sammy D. And they still stunk because he held them back. He was in over his head. And then after that, it was always we don't really want to fire him because he's kind of like just doing good enough kind of thing and saving his job. Exactly. That was basically him.
Give him some time to get his players in and rebuild the program.
I don't know. And them firing him after like the second year or second game basically tells me 2 things. That one, they regret not firing him the year or the previous offseason. Because who knows? Maybe they would have got Urban Meyer. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But second thing is too, I think they just didn't want to give him the chance of doing just good enough to save his job, right? Because they could have ended up with like 9 wins or something like that, and you think, oh, that's a good year. Not for USC standards. Like, what are you gonna do? And we already got. So, who do you think in like USC should hire?
That's a good question. I mean, I've seen the Twitterverse is obviously screaming for Bieniemy, the Chiefs OC. I've heard he has some ties back to USC. Did he go there? Maybe
I think he's just from LA.
Yeah, that's what it was. I've heard that one. I've heard the what's his name?
Cincy coach.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I heard the Minnesota coach.
Yeah, probably him too. There's Urban Meyer, obviously, but Urban Meyer said today he's like no chance. But do we believe him?
Did you see the video though?
What video?
There was the quote where he was like, basically, denying. He was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna stay with the Jaguars." But the video is more concerning. Everyone go look it up if you haven't. There's a video and he whispers. He's like, "No, I'm gonna continue and stay with the Jaguars program. Thank you." It was something like real weird. I was like, that was odd.
That is a little weird because maybe he thinks he's like, you know what, the NFL kind of sucks and the Jags suck because they got absolutely destroyed by the Texans, but which we'll talk about later.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
But like maybe why wouldn't you want to go to USC, especially with NIL and all that kind of stuff in LA? You'll be getting hella recruits. You're Urban Meyer, so you already got the clout in that first place. Why wouldn't you want to go there? But USC should definitely hire someone. I mean, there's a Cincy coach because I think the AD is from Cincy, so maybe that. But like James Franklin from Penn State. But all these coaches right now are like saying, "Oh, I'm not interested. That's cap or whatever." Well, of course they're going to say that in the second game of the year. I mean, I guess
it's like when
or their names are popping up because their agent. If I was like James Franklin's agent, or if I was a Cincy head coach agent, I'd be like, "Yeah, we're pretty interested. Maybe you should give us a little extension. Maybe we'll change our mind."
Right.
Yeah. So
use it as leverage.
Yeah. So it would have been really clutch for them if they could have kept Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe they could have just upgraded him to head coach or whatnot. So
you think there's a timeline where why can't I think of his name? Lane Kiffin ends up back at USC.
Imagine.
It's kind of like John Gruden becoming the coach of the Raiders again.
Imagine. I mean, I guess it's entirely. You never know with Lane. I'll say that. You never know with him. So I wouldn't rule it out. but I don't know why you would go back there after that disaster.
Yeah,
And not to mention, it's all about expectations too. So like, there's less expectations over at Ole Miss, so that's why everyone at Ole Miss loves them. But it's also easier competition over at the Pac-12 than it is the SEC.
for sure.
So yeah, but we won't be hearing about this. Like nothing's gonna be made until like the end of the season. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm glad, not glad that somebody lost his job because he'll get it. He'll get another job in 2 seconds. But glad they should have, like I said, they should have done it 3 years ago, but they just cut it off. Terrible loss to Stanford. That was awful. I didn't watch the game either, but it was like I was getting notifications throughout the night of just touchdown Stanford, touchdown Stanford, touchdown Stanford. I'm like, this turned into a blowout. I'm like, what's going on? But yeah,
I don't know either. No, I didn't even think Stanford was good. Didn't they lose pretty badly in like week
yeah,
one?
I think they lost by like 2 or 3 scores to like Kansas State or something like that.
I remember that. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, but dub for the Pac-12 overall. Oregon came in on a national stage, beat Ohio State in their place. Big dubs for
Good
them.
win.
Oh, go Ducks! Yes. So we said it wasn't too crazy of a during the week. We said we didn't think it was gonna be too crazy. It ended up being pretty interesting.
I agree.
But let's go into our picks for week 3.
All right.
All right, let me pull up the spreads for these two.
Well, you're pulling them up. I'm gonna go get some water.
You do that.
So everyone,
HBO kids, shout out to what water are you getting?
what water?
Like what brand?
Tap water?
Shout out to Tap.
Sorry, no, wait. I don't drink tap water from my fridge. Shout out to. Let me go figure out what brand my fridge is. I'll be right.
And we'll get some free money. Let's go.
Whirlpool.
Shout out to Whirlpool. We respect your game. Give us money, or give us a fridge, or both. We'll take whatever at this point. But
shout out to Whirlpool for making a great refrigerator and dishwasher. Woo! Oh, and my stove. My God.
they do it all over at
Whirlpool CEO, come on the podcast.
Yes, come on the podcast.
Or anyone. Whirlpool employee, come on the
We'll take the customer service guy.
Yeah, receptionist. Come on.
Yeah. All right. First game, Oklahoma, Nebraska, a little throwback Big 12 rivalry. Let's go. Oklahoma minus 22.5 on Fox Big Noon kickoff. Any chance the Cornhuskers make this interesting?
I don't think so.
No, me neither. Yeah, they're gonna
not. Even though I don't know. Oklahoma's been a little sus to me, especially their defense. Shocker.
They've been a little suspect, but Nebraska's just so bad.
No, I definitely agree. But I think.
No, I don't see a scenario where that game is competitive. And we'll hear again how Scott Frost will get fired. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a coach that gets fired mid-season. That's been a failed experiment. Nebraska, now that's a team I told you, is Florida State ever going to be back? Nebraska is never coming back. They will never. I'm sorry. Who wants to go to Nebraska?
They're what?
Who wants to go to Nebraska?
No one.
Exactly. So they're a team that's never going to be back. But it is good to see the little Big 12. They should have never left the Big 12. They should have stayed there, but instead they got money hungry, went to the Big 10, and it's been a complete disaster. So that's your fault on that one, Cornhuskers. Sorry, you got some dedicated fans too. So very disappointing to hear. Yeah, not really. I don't think I was ever watch football in an era like when Nebraska was like big time.
Yeah, no.
There's been a few years where like they were like.
I was gonna say there's been a few years where they've been like top 15-ish. Like I remember when I don't know, they've been all right.
Yeah.
I've never been scared of Nebraska since I've been watching football.
Yeah, the Capital One Bulls between Georgia were they had me going, I guess. I don't know
about that.
I don't know how much we played them, but we probably did.
I think we did play them like twice. Anyway, next,
Cincy, Indiana. We talked about this game. We've been hyping it up kind of on the first pod, and this is kind of Cincinnati's first big test. Cincinnati -4, noon game, ESPN. What do you think?
I think Cincinnati, easy.
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 It's in Indiana.
I didn't know that. Hold on. I'd still probably take Cincy, honestly. Indiana has been a little sus to me.
Yeah.
Maybe Iowa's just that good, but they got like curb stomped by Iowa.
Oh yeah. And they played like
So,
Idaho the next week and crushed them. But I
yeah.
mean, Vegas thinks it's gonna be close. They got Cincy -4, but I
I
agree.
still think that's about what I think. I think it'll be pretty close. I think Indiana will look a lot better than they did against Iowa, hopefully. But honestly, until they show me a little something else, I'm not gonna pick them.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Cincy here. I picked them to get on my playoffs.
Even
So
though preseason I hyped them up, guys. I liked them coming into the year, but I don't know.
hey, maybe
Like I said, change my mind. I want you to change my mind. I like Indiana, so
yeah, go Hoosiers. But I agree. Go Bearcats on this one. I think it'll be a competitive game, though.
I agree.
Honest. Yeah. So I think Iowa's not too bad, to be honest. Like in Big Ten standards. So I think it'll be a competitive game. Next one, the line is kind of surprising on this one to me, but Virginia Tech going into West Virginia, the battle of the Virginias. West Virginia -3. West Virginia's favored.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Well, I haven't personally seen West Virginia play.
Me neither.
So I don't know anything about it. All I know about, you said, is it Virginia or Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech. I don't know.
Yeah, all I know is that Virginia Tech beat up on UNC. So with only that being my knowledge base.
They were looking a little suspect at first against like Middle Tennessee State. That game was kind of like competitive for a half, but then I think Virginia Tech like pulled away.
Yeah, I'll still probably take VT.
Yeah, West Virginia lost to Maryland by 6 in the first game, and then blew out Long Island. But
Long Island.
I'm gonna say Virginia Tech with the upset. Also, I actually feel pretty good about betting on this one, to be honest. But I'm not gonna do it because I've been pretty bad lately.
Oops.
Yeah, so no lock of the week on that one. But if I were to bet, I would bet that one.
I would love to hear your lock of the week once we get through these.
It's coming out. But Virginia Tech with the upset. Go Hokies on that one. Let's see. Next game. Oh, speaking of my lock of the week. Wait, no, actually, I'll say this game first. Notre Dame, Purdue. We were talking about Notre Dame looking stuff. They got pushed back in the polls. They're at 12, but Notre Dame, 7-point favorite.
I'm surprised they're still 12.
They were 8 last week, I think.
That's even worse. They look terrible.
They have looked terrible.
You said 7-point?
Yeah, Notre Dame -7. Purdue at home. They got Purdue at home in South Bend.
As much as I think Notre Dame is not good, I think they can beat Purdue by 7.
I think they can cover on this one. But then again, I thought they could cover in both games before that, and they failed. So
yeah,
I don't know what to believe, but go Irish on this one. But they're in for a rude awakening. I know I've mentioned this on it, but that's scheduled. No. It's actually after Purdue. They got Wisconsin and Madison. Then they got Cincinnati at home. USC, say what you want, they're still talented, but they got USC at home. And then UNC at home. So after this, they can't afford to lose this game, because then they'll be mega screwed, and there's a lot more pressure. Because they can probably afford to lose one of those games that I just mentioned. Maybe, I don't know. You never know. But if they lose to Purdue, yeah, they're done so on that one.
For sure.
But anyways, next game, the line actually went down on this one. But Alabama, Florida in the swamp. Alabama -14. -14.5. What are we thinking?
I feel like I'm just taking the favorite in all these games, I guess, except for Virginia Tech, but Bama should take care of business, I think.
I agree. I would say, like, there's a little quarterback controversy over at Florida with Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, I never said it on the pod, but I've said it behind the scenes of the pod. Anthony Richardson's going to start by Georgia. Emory Jones is going to lose his job. Anthony Richardson's going to start.
Interesting.
But with that, I think Anthony Richardson's actually pretty good. But I also think Emory Jones is not which he hasn't looked that great, and Anthony Richardson has looked pretty good. But Anthony Richardson, I think I read somewhere that he like tweaked a hammy, so who knows if he's 100%. One of Florida's linebackers is out for the year. Brennan Cox is trash talking like, we're ready. Are they ready? Shut up, dude. Yes, they're ready. Lock of the week. Bama's going to cover. I bet on it. We'll see how it goes. If I go over 3 on Jordan Stein lock of the weeks, Jordan lock of the weeks are dead.
Just canceling it.
or just everyone just fade me. I don't know. Just do the opposite of what I say. But they're going to cover. I think they take care of business. I think it will be a game where probably competitive for a half. Like Florida's like, I like how I described the Miami game. They'll hang around and the Bama will just end up covering. The Swamp will be rocking though. First true road environment for Bryce Young. So we'll see how it does over there. But Florida's got to get to them, and they got to protect their own quarterback, which I'm not sure they can do. So, but yeah, I think Alabama takes care of business. Roll Tide. We're cheering for you, Alabama, this week. It's one of the 3 weeks, but we're cheering for you.
So. I will choose Bama, but I will never stay with what you just said. So
they're playing Florida, so it's okay.
I don't know about that.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Fine, but I'm not gonna say it. Next.
Roll Tide, baby.
Nope.
Let's see. Next. Okay. So we picked this game last week. I gotta do it again for my good friend Ben Crumby. Shout out to you. Great game against NC State. The Bulldogs and Mississippi State took care of business. Was looking a little sus at first. They were driving it down, but NC State couldn't get their mistakes. Had too many mistakes, and then they ended up getting shut down. But now they got Memphis coming up, and Mississippi State -3. It's in Memphis. What are we thinking?
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't seen either of those teams play, so that's all you.
Well, make a pick just because. Just pick someone.
State.
I'm picking Memphis. I was just gonna do whichever was opposite of yours.
Okay, just to have some disparity.
I'm sorry, Ben Crumby. You understand. I gotta do what I gotta do for the podcast. But shout out to you. You were very excited about the NC State game. He said it was he said this game is the difference between the Belk Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl for the NC State game, which is pretty big.
That's pretty big.
It is pretty big.
That was hilarious.
Okay. Now let's talk about our.
It's not a joke.
Let's talk about our dogs. Georgia, South Carolina. Last time South Carolina came in, we lost. And you know what? ESPN hates us because they keep on tweeting about the stupid Devontae Smith touchdown for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
Shut up. Go die.
They were like, it was the exact same.
ESPN, we don't want a sponsorship from you. You suck. We don't like you. No, we hate them. I hate them.
ESPN, if you want to pay me.
But anyways, no, I'm not letting you say it. But anyways, and then they go tweet, oh, last time South Carolina went to Athens, they fucking lost. Shut up. Shut up. Why? What's the point?
They always have. They hate the Falcons too. I know I'm kind of twisting this a little bit, but I definitely remember when the Falcons were going to the Super Bowl, the only thing on TV for 2 weeks was like, how is Tom Brady going to win his 6th ring? And I was like, we're not talking about how the best offense is right now and how the Falcons have never won a Super Bowl like that. You don't want that to be your story. It's got to be about Tom Brady, just like this.
It's not even that. Can you give a little love to the other side? Like, come on. But anyways, so we're favored by, guess how much we're favored by?
A lot. Let's go with 35.
31.5. That's a lot. I'm not going to lie.
I agree. For an SEC opponent, too.
Yeah, but South Carolina isn't that good. I'm gonna say South Carolina covers, but still a blowout. It'll be like 28.
That's fair.
Yeah, they'll get like a garbage time touchdown or something, or a field goal. I don't know, but we take care of business. I think even if Stetson or JT starts, I think.
I did.
Just don't give me any drama this week. You never know, but like I said with UAB, you got to come in focused. And it seems that all the players, like most of the players, were on that team that lost in Athens. They remember that. They won't
let it happen again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the difference is the run game. Their running back's pretty good, but our run defense is really good. So that's basically what it'll come down to. Kearis Jackson should be playing. I texted you that. So we're getting healthier. We're getting healthier a little bit.
I have heard that it might rain.
Yes, it might rain, which I'm not looking
Because
forward
I
to.
was potentially offered tickets that I wouldn't have to pay for. And then I started looking at the schedule or the forecast, sorry. And I think it said like 60% chance of rain. I was like, I don't know if I want to go up there during the rain.
Actually, can I give you something? Can I give you some Jordan Stein fun fact of the pod?
Okay.
The 60% does not mean that it's 60% chance it's going to rain. It means 60% of the area is going to rain. So 60% of Athens, it will be rain.
That's crazy. But honestly, that's worse.
It is. But hopefully that changes by then, because I do not want to be sitting out in the rain. That would really
I
suck.
was gonna say I've had a couple of those in my day, and they weren't fun, especially if it's for South Carolina. I sat through the rain when we played Texas A&M. That's a little different, bigger game.
Yeah, I mean that sucked, but like it could always be worse. So hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully we take care of business. I think we'll get the dub, but can't go sleepwalking in that one as we know. But let's see. I'm gonna skip this one. Let's go UNC UVA. UNC's only -8 against UVA. UVA 2-0. I think the quarterback had a good game last week. They killed Illinois, if that means anything. But
it doesn't.
Yeah. Who do you got? Who do you got on that one?
UNC.
Yeah, I think they can take care of business too. It's one of those I'm not trusting an ACC team until I have to. But ASU BYU, that's a ranked matchup, 19 versus 23. BYU coming off a win against Utah in the Holy War. Can they go back to back with the Pac-12? ASU -4. Wait, think it.
I'm gonna say they do it.
Go Mormons. I'm picking BYU. Don't know why, but
I don't.
Why not? Why not?
Well, you about done with the picks? You ready to move on? I think we're
One more. You forgot the craziest one. The game of the week. Where game day is going. Penn State, Auburn, whiteout. Penn State -5. Can I give you a stat real quick?
Sure.
Let me make this pick.
Change my mind.
The key. So Bo Nix, our good friend, Bo Nix, at home. His stats versus at home versus on the road. 60 at home, 63% completion percentage, 192.5 yards per game, 15-1 touchdown to pick ratio, about 30 yards a game.
He has more than 15 touchdowns.
Rushing. Yeah, I know. But it's just at home. But
sorry, I had to throw that zinger out.
Yeah, I know. He's not good. But about 30 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns. And then on the road, that dropped all the way to 54.5 completion percentage, 170, about 180 passing yards, 9-10 touchdown to pick ratio, 23.4 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. So you're going to put him in that environment in a whiteout, which whiteout's low key. Is it a little low key overrated? Because I think I saw on Colin Cowherd, shout out to the Herdster, that
Colin Cowherd come on the podcast.
Yeah, that Penn State's like 6-6 and they last like 12 whiteouts. Yeah. I found that pretty interesting for something that gets hyped up as much, and they're only 500 in the past 12. I found that pretty interesting.
Kind of like how Georgia kind of put the black jerseys on the shelf for a while because we cranked them out and then lost, and we kept them in our back pocket.
But the black jerseys never got like hyped up.
That's true.
Because everyone's like, oh, but with that, whiteout should be crazy. I think Penn State covers. I think it'll be a good game, honestly.
I feel like it's one of those games where I felt like if it was at Jordan Hare, I would pick Auburn.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, I think the environment, I think they're pretty evenly matched, and I think the environment will give them the edge.
I give the slight edge to Penn State, but like from a talent standpoint, they're pretty easy. But like coaching staff and everything, that Penn State had the edge in that. And Penn State's already winning the Madison and won that. Auburn's played like a bunch of nobodies. So like coming into that whiteout and everything, I think Penn State will win. I think it'll be a good game though.
So do I.
But that's done with the college picks here. We want to move on to the national football.
Yeah, what time are we at? You got a time? I'm trying to think how much.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, never mind. Anyway, so yeah, I guess we kind of split our roles for everyone watching. I think Jordan's more of the leader when we talk about college stuff, and then I'll take it on when we talk about NFL stuff. So
College.
I'm going to start off the discussion with. I'm only picking 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, I picked a lot of the games that I want to briefly touch on. But one of the games I picked might surprise you. I would like to talk about the Jags and the Texans. And here's why.
The fight for the number 1 pick.
See, that's the thing.
Oh.
And I went into this game thinking, I honestly went into this season, and I think everyone kind of thought the same thing, that the Texans were kind of like, I heard everyone saying, like, there's no way they're going to win more than 3 games. You know what I mean? They were like, Texans are the worst roster we've ever seen. Texans are just going to get killed. And I was kind of like, this should be a nice coming out party for Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it should have been.
Yes.
And I watched the game, and they low-key got destroyed.
Oh, they got dominated.
Trevor Lawrence threw like 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns or something to like make it look kind of respectable. But he still threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily.
Welcome to the NFL. Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, that honestly,
my first regular season loss since middle school.
I was watching that game and I was thinking the Jags have the worst roster in the NFL.
No, honestly, they might.
And I'm kind of like, that's kind of tough after having the first overall pick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
2 first-round picks, by the way. And I'm kind of, like I said, I'm looking at them and I'm like, that's the worst team in the NFL. The Texans made you guys look like you made the Texans look good.
Exactly.
And I thought the Texans were just going to be awful.
Yeah. Tyrod was throwing dimes on them.
I was going to say, Tyrod's always been kind of that guy. He's not amazing, but it's like he's good enough to get it done.
I don't think he's one of those, he's a classic game manager. Like, he's not losing you a game, but he's not winning you a game. For the most part,
he'll win you the game if you're playing the Jags, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's about all I wanted to say about that one.
No, and I don't think that's too crazy of a take because I agree. I think it was kind of consensus. Texans number 1 pick.
No, that's my thing. People were already like, Spencer Rattler is a Texan. You know what I mean? They were saying that like months ago. Now when we come out this first game, they hang 37 up or something. I was kind of like, I did not expect that team would score 37 points in 3 games, honestly. So they did play the Jags, but it's the NFL, the disparity between the teams isn't as big as you think they are. And it's truly any given Sunday. Like
Alabama beat the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Absolutely not. So
I hate when people say that. I hate it.
Thank you. I have to.
It's ridiculous.
That is literally
NBA and for NFL. A college
team is literally
an NFL team.
My biggest trigger. Not even my biggest football trigger. That's like my biggest trigger is when people like back in the day they're like Ohio State could beat the Browns, and I was like, no. Ohio State would get destroyed by the
depth. The third stringers on the Jaguars were probably college stars. Exactly. Now could like a Devontae Smith when he was in college this last year have a good game? Yeah, probably. They're still rookies. Like, look at Mac Jones. I mean, Mac Jones, he played all right, but like he only played all right.
I think it's like the 2% rule. It's like 2% of players that play high school go on to college. And then 2% of those people actually like stay on. I shouldn't say go. I think it's 2% of people in college will like stay on an NFL roster for more than 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of like this is the best of the best. There's a huge difference.
Nothing annoys me more. You know who it is?
Teams have like over 100 people.
It's stupid ESPN who tried to start those stupid narratives. That's why we don't want you, ESPN. We don't want you sponsoring us. Think we're Fox Sports guys all the way.
Sorry for the rant. But anyway.
Stupid.
Next game I want to talk about. Actually, the next game I really don't want to talk about, but I have to talk about as a Falcons fan, is they just got blown out by the Eagles.
You know what's funny about that? Because I watched that game, and the first 2 drives were pretty promising. They were moving down the field. Okay,
It's
yeah,
classic
you
Falcons. We
can't get in
moved the
the end
ball
zone, but you're thinking,
great.
okay, we're moving the ball. And then
We
it was kind
moved
of
the
after
ball
that, they couldn't
great.
do nothing.
Falcons always do this. They always have. We move the ball great. We get down to the 5-yard line and we kick a field goal.
Yeah.
And we did that 2 drives in a row. And then, they're struggling to move the ball. And then they score a touchdown. And like, they're up by 1. I'm kind of like, put the ball in the end zone. We have to score. And then I don't even know what happened after that. I mean, we just got torched by.
Yeah, it's just like the offense couldn't move the ball. The defense was doing okay. They were getting some stops. They can't do it forever.
Before I was
Hurts bald.
I agree, but I'm kind of like, is that because the Falcons are terrible though?
Yeah.
I would honestly say, like, if I did like a preseason rankings, I would have the Eagles in bottom 5, maybe bottom 8, at best bottom 8.
Yeah.
But probably a bottom 5 team. And I'm like, I looked at the
Falcons dominating.
I looked at the Falcons schedule being pessimistic as a fan, and I circled that one, and I was like, that might be our only win kind of thing. And then we just get crushed. And I'm like, bro, this is going to be real bad. We're playing the Buccaneers next week.
And what are you doing with Kyle Pitts? They did not use Kyle Pitts at all. Ridley didn't do nothing either.
Great question. I have no clue what's going on.
I've been saying it. I'm not a Falcons fan for people out there, but like I have Falcons friends that I talk to the Falcons that I talk to the Falcons football about. But I've been saying for years, draft some O linemen, and they never do. Their line was terrible. Their line got dominated. Did you see the one? Last year, you saw the one.
Last year or 2 years ago, we drafted 2 linemen in the first round. Believe it or not, we took Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGrary or something like that. No one knows who those people are. Actually, Lindstrom's pretty good, but yeah, I'm just saying we have spent high draft capital on linemen, and it hasn't helped.
Low key, I'm on the train of just sign a lineman more so than like drafting one.
Yeah, it's tough. That's gonna be good, honestly. You're right.
But yeah, did you see the one picture? Just Matt Ryan just dead on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's helping him up, by the way? Come on, guys.
Seriously, no. Matt Ryan's gonna be retiring very soon. You can only take these. He's been just getting destroyed the past few years.
Yeah. My brother actually sent me something. So shout out to Trevor. Come on the podcast.
Shout out to Trevor.
He sent me something great. And I don't mean to pick on him, okay? But Jalen Mayfield, I think the Falcons' 3rd-round pick out of Michigan, started. I think he was one of the guards. They said that Jalen Mayfield, according to PFF, was recorded with the lowest lineman rating of all time.
Oh my God.
At a 1.7 out of 100.
Good.
That was his grade for the game.
Really, the only thing I like kind of pay attention to, because I don't know myself, for PFF is lineman play. Like that's like the number one thing I kind of look at.
I agree, because they factor in stuff. I mean, I don't want to call it the Aaron Donald numbers, but you know what I mean? But they're kind of like, they factor in like, hey, production when you're being double teamed or something, or like maybe pressures or something more so than, I don't know, just sacks and tackles.
They're a mess right now.
Like I said, they rated Jalen Mayfield at a 1.7 out of 100. It was the lowest score ever given to a lineman.
Crazy. And they've been around for a minute.
Yeah. So,
and it kind of sucks with like the Falcons and the fact that they literally hired an offensive coordinator guy, and that offense just may have looked like even worse.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say there, but we can move on.
Yes, move on.
Next game I want to talk about. Great game. Chiefs and Browns. Browns kind of looked like they were rolling for a little bit. They had a 10-point lead or something going into the 4th quarter
or something like that. Yeah, they were looking good. Nick Chubb balled.
Yeah, I mean, we love Nick Chubb, by the way.
Baker. I thought Baker had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, they were doing great, but
he threw a terrible pick at the end. But
yeah, but I mean, you know.
You just knew the Chiefs were going to come back though, because they were getting dominated first. You just knew Patty and Travis Kelce and all Tyreek Hill.
That's exactly what
the
happened.
One throw, just classic Patty, just like YOLO Tyreek. Patty is just the goat at like you make it seem like it's YOLO throws, but it works every time.
I was gonna
Like
say
literally every time. You think he's just like chucking like
it
the
really
meme,
seems
like
like
Tyreek some down there somewhere. Why not? And
hey, and
then he just catches it and get a touchdown.
I've always said it's the same thing with Kelsey though. Like people have the meme or whatever with Tyreek Hill, and I'm like, Travis Kelsey, I really feel like, and he said something about he's like, dude, I just make stuff up sometimes because it really feels like that. Because I'm always like, sometimes he's just so wide open that I'm like,
Yeah.
is he even running a play or is he literally like let Mahomes scramble around? He's like, I'm just gonna go literally sit somewhere where there's no one.
He knows how to read defenses. He knows where the zone is, and they're just like, you know what?
It's crazy though, because I'm always like, I see some of these catches that Kelsey makes, and I'm like, how is he so open? It like literally doesn't make sense. I'm like, he's the only player you need to cover, or not the only one.
You know? And he's a cool guy, so that's always a plus.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you can't count out the Chiefs or can't count out Patrick Mahomes. I guess he's just.
Yeah, I just felt the whole time watching that game, you know, they're gonna make this interesting at least. Yeah. But shout out to the Browns. They look good.
Browns look good in a loss, quality loss. They're 0-1, and I'd say they're a top 5 team in the league right now.
And speaking of quality losses, you said we discussed it last week, but the Cowboys too. Like it's kind of like the moral victory kind of thing. Like, you know, we showed we can hang with
Cowboys are real good at moral victories.
Though. Yeah, yes, they are. They are the kings, but good for the Browns. We're cheering for you over here. But yeah, they look good. That run game's nasty.
I love it.
Between him and Kareem Hunt. So
I was gonna say, I know we talked a little bit about how we didn't want to talk about fantasy, or like, at least before we started recording, but I have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb on my fantasy team.
Oh, you're all in. You're all in.
I might start them both. Anyway, we can move on to the next game. A big what the heck happened? The Saints beating the Packers like.
Okay, I want to say this.
Okay.
I want to start out with this. I'm on the conspiracy theory. Aaron Rodgers is tanking, so the Packers are forced to trade him. He's just going to stink it up until they trade him.
I don't know about that.
It's true. He was terrible. He was awful.
He was terrible.
He threw there was one pick where he tried the Patrick Mahomes, like Devontae's out there somewhere, overthrew him by a mile, and then just laid in the Saints guy's hand, pick, whatever.
I do think he probably took a little more time off this offseason than he has before.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too,
I think he genuinely didn't know if he was gonna come back until like a week or two before training camp. Like, I really think he was like, I might retire. I'm going on vacation in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe he's just like, I don't know. I don't want to say he wasn't in shape, because I heard he was in really good shape at that golf tournament or something. That was big news. But
my thing with that too is like, he's still talking about it, like the whole like saga. Stop talking about it. Focus on the season. You got a good team.
I agree.
Stop talking about it. Whenever there's a question asked about it, I'm focused on the season. I'll worry about it when the season's over. Not thinking about it. I'm going from there.
My personal opinion, it was an outlier. I don't think that's going to happen again, and I think the Packers will probably end up being fine. But yeah, it does.
So they got Detroit on Monday night, so they better be. Or if not, if they stick it up against Detroit, then yes, they're totally tanking.
And no one's talking about the Saints either. Everyone's like, "Oh, they lost Drew Brees. Basically, it's game over. Like the Saints are done." And I'm kind of like, they might be more dynamic with Jameis. Like they have basically the same roster, which is at
least more dynamic than the past few years, because Drew Brees didn't have too much of an arm the past few years, and they were a lot more dependent on Alvin Kamara. But yeah, they were chucking. Jameis. There was no question that Jameis wasn't talented. It was just goofballness gonna take over.
It was all in between the eyes with or in between the ears. Sorry, I'm so used to.
And the thing is, he's kind of a smart guy.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jameis. I'm rooting for him.
And low key, is he a dark horse for MVP? Low key.
That's tough. Personally, I mean, if he can cut his turnovers down, I feel like if his turnovers are high, they won't.
Well, he literally said that. He said he would be amazing if he just cuts out the turnovers. He said that after his 30-30 year. He said he just needs to cut out the turnovers, which he's not wrong. That's all he needs to do.
For sure. And like I said, I think the Saints have a talented roster. And like
Yeah.
I said, sometimes the narrative gets twisted a certain way, like kind of when we were talking about Oregon and Ohio State. And I was like, is it that everyone's like, oh my God, the Packers lost so badly? But I'm like, what if the Saints are just good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe they just unlocked that extra, tier
Yeah.
when they when Jameis stepped in, gave them another level of dynamics.
Yeah, and
But
it was a good signing right when Jameis went there, because who do you want to learn behind more than Drew Brees and Sean Payton?
right.
And figure everything out, cut the
I was
turnovers
gonna
out.
say, gave him time to kind of reflect too,
Yeah.
kind of been like, hey,
Yeah, well,
what went
that's
wrong
what
in
he
the
said.
past that led me
That,
here?
that's what he said. He said the whole kind of experience kind of humbled him and everything, and he's not going to be taking it for granted anymore.
For sure.
So yeah, 100% with
But
that. Hopefully it works out for him, because he's got some talent, and he's a funny guy. So I respect this game.
But yeah, kind of going off that. Speaking of a team that seems to have, I guess, unlocked, I guess another asset or another, I can't think of the word, like another. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Basically, they've upgraded themselves in the passing game, deep ball specifically with the Rams. So the Rams and Bears, I wanted to talk about because there are things on both sides that need to be addressed. First of all, I mean Matt Stafford's debut,
Brilliant.
Georgia boy, by the way, Matt
Let's
Stafford
go.
podcast. Matt Stafford, it didn't disappoint. It was getting hyped up all season, and it was exactly what we thought. We saw the play to, who was it? Van Jefferson, very early.
Yeah.
Just like an 80-yard touchdown, and we're kind of like, that's literally why they traded 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff for him.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like, that's what they were missing.
Yeah, he balled out. He had like Robert Woods as your little, Cooper Kupp as your kind of I guess possession receivers and everything. But
Cooper Kupp looked good. They looked like they had good chemistry already. I was kind of like, this Rams team is real good, I think.
Yeah,
they're built to win right now, though. They don't have any draft picks and they don't have any money.
Which you kind of have to respect that in a way. Your time's now. You gotta all out. But 100% why they traded for him, as you can see. Like if McVay made Goff look, or got Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford, we can all agree, is better than Jared Goff. Like even and you got the haters. You had the haters saying, "Well, if Matthew Stafford's that good, why couldn't he do anything with Detroit?" Because it's Detroit and they suck at everything.
Yeah, he didn't have anyone to throw to. I guess he had Megatron for a few years, but
yeah, but he was still but they still stunk because everyone. It's a team game, people. Unless you're Tom Brady. But
that Rams defense is pretty nasty.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. They got two of the best at their position.
Madden 99 Club. I think they're the only 2 99s on defense, by the way.
Yeah, they probably are.
And yeah. Anyway, but yeah. Enough about the Rams. I also wanted to talk about the Bears because the Bears are very interesting. I don't like the Bears. But what I will say is Justin needs to start yesterday. It's obvious to me.
So here's the thing, too, with that. So they obviously want to follow the Patrick Mahomes thing and the Tom Brady thing and whoever. So with those quarterbacks, there's probably more that I can't think of off the top of my head. But those guys that's like waited a year or two, the Aaron Rodgers, the guys have waited. The guys that they've waited from is Alex Smith, who went had 11 years, 11.
Also a former first overall pick, by the way.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was behind Brett Favre, who was the Hall of Famer, and Tom Brady was behind Drew Bledsoe, who's pretty good. So respectable quarterbacks in front of him. So it makes sense. Now you got Andy Dalton in front of him.
Career journeyman. He's meant to be a bridge, and we've reached the end of the bridge here, guys.
Yeah, I'm telling
you. Justin's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you're there already.
And I'm telling you, I really do think the only reason they're starting is because when they signed him, they promised him the job, and they don't want to do that.
I don't think
they don't want to do him dirty.
I think they're big braining themselves. They're overthinking it to thinking like, oh, okay, well, the new
I think it's because they got stuck in a pickle.
No, I think they're like the new method is to let the quarterback sit for a whole year and then unveil him to the world.
It literally, you texted me right when it happened, and I was talking to my brother about this literally at the exact same time, right when he texted me.
Yeah.
It literally looked like UGA all over there with the stupid ass read
Right.
option packages or whatever. Like, it literally looked like the
Put
same
him in
thing.
for one play in the goal line. He gets a rushing touchdown, then you take him out. He's not a running back.
He's not. No.
He's not. He's a good passer.
But I've said it for the past couple of months. I said by week 3 or 4, Justin will start.
He should.
I think he will. I think there's too much. I think there's too much pressure. Especially if they keep on losing and keeps on stinking it up. There's going to be too much pressure from the fans and the media and whoever, and they're just going to have to bite the bullet and do it.
If you start 0-3 or 1-4 or something, I think there's no way you can keep him out.
No,
absolutely. That's about all I had to say with that game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Justin should have been starting from the beginning.
It's just obvious. He comes in, and even though I guess he's playing backups in preseason, but it's just like he unlocks another level, kind of like what I said with Stafford on that offense. It's just kind of like he can do stuff that Andy Dalton will never.
The Bears have a good team. Like they've got players. They got Allen Robinson, David Montgomery. David Montgomery looked pretty good on. They got good players on defense.
They have guys, and I don't think Andy Dalton's bad. Like he was doing a good job of getting the ball out pretty quickly, which I know the announcers kept saying, but I'm just repeating that. They were like, "Hey, he's getting the ball out real fast," but I'm like, "Yeah, but he's throwing it like 2 yards downfield."
Exactly. I don't know.
Anyway,
put us a coach.
Our final topic. I don't want to say it's like the grand finale, but it was Monday Night Football. We got Ravens and Raiders in the greatest and worst game I've maybe ever seen.
Yes. I ended up turning it off. I ended up turning it off and went to bed before everything got crazy. I wake up and I just see everyone saying it went crazy. I ended up watching the highlights and figuring out what happened.
I very much wanted to turn it off. For those that weren't watching
it was car crash. You couldn't keep your eyes off of it.
Exactly. Well, I was so tired. We're over here on the East Coast. Shout out entire East Coast. Come on the podcast.
Yes. New York City, get on the podcast.
You know, we someone Carlson, Raiders kicker, have him in fantasy by the way, kicked the field goal, and then we go into overtime, and I'm like, it's like 11:25 or something when we're like starting overtime, and I'm like, come on now, I gotta go to bed. I got work tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, that was a crazy game. I'm starting to think. I don't know. I think the Raiders were carried a little bit by their crowd and the spirit of playing their first. I don't want to say first game. First full capacity game at Allegiant, which that's a 6 stadium, by the way, and it's right on the strip, or like, right off the strip.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. I want to go there. So next time Falcons go play the Raiders, whenever that is.
Do it.
But what was I going to say? Yeah. Ravens looking sus. I look at that team and I'm like, especially that offense, and I'm like, it's Lamar and a bunch of people.
And the thing is, like Lamar, you can still see the brilliance of Lamar, but at least when I was watching, that line sucks. They traded Orlando Brown, right? You can tell. Whoever 78 is, get cut because
that's Villanueva, by the way, who had a lot of good years with the Steelers. But there's a reason the Steelers cut him.
It's Crosby or whatever his name is, the white guy defensive end for the Raiders. He destroyed them. Like, it was like every play.
By the way, not trying to push an agenda or anything. He got drafted the same draft, I believe, as Cleveland Farrell, who went 4th overall. Max Crosby was like a 4th or 5th round pick, and
Farrell was a healthy scratch.
What?
Farrell was a healthy scratch on Monday.
I don't know what that's about, but all I'm saying is Max Crosby is way better than him.
Yes, that was one of those picks where at the time everyone's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, yeah, I agree, but I also I don't want to compare it in the exact same way. I think it's weird, but they're two players at the same position, and one guy was picked way later, and then he's better.
So
it's kind of like out in a way. It reminds me of the only other time I can really think of that is I gotta say RG3 and Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins he's obviously had a more successful career than RG3, but they were drafted in the same draft too. Fun fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
which is weird because Kirk Cousins ended up starting over him after a certain period. I mean, because of injury. Anyway, never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, Ravens are sus.
They got no receivers too.
That's the thing. It's like they have Sammy Watkins and Marquise Brown. I don't think Marquise Brown's that good. I'm gonna say.
No, I don't think he is either.
He was a first round pick. His very first game in the league, I remember he had
he balled out.
Yeah, he had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns or something off 2 catches. It was crazy. But he hasn't really honestly done anything since that day, if I'm being honest. And that was his first game in the league. Sammy Watkins is always he's been perennially underwhelming to me, honestly, his whole career. That's my take. He was a top 5 pick, wasn't he? He was picked 3rd overall or something by the Bills.
He was definitely up there. He was 100% a first round pick.
Oh, I'm talking. He was top 5.
Yeah.
He was
definitely top 5 or 10 or something.
He was either 3 or 4, I think.
But they could have that Bateman's hurt, and they got that Boykin guy that's hurt too.
Yeah.
But my thing is not even the receivers. The line is just so bad. It seemed like Lamar, the amount of pump fakes Lamar had to do and jumping around, was ridiculous. And Lamar's on my fantasy.
But I don't know. He was just getting swarmed. I'm so used to seeing Lamar in space juking people out, and I'm like, dude, he's just getting tackled by 3 people at the same time.
Yeah, no.
They were all over him. And I don't think the Raiders have, a good line.
No, anyway. No, their defense is not good. But Lamar kind of choked too. He had that fumble that was pretty bad.
The Raiders concern me too. I looked at that team and I was like,
they stink.
I'm not gonna lie. I used to be on the team of essentially Derek Carr is not that bad.
Yeah,
and the rest of the Raiders is what's terrible. But I watched him in that game and he missed so many.
No, it's literally Chuck to Darren Waller every.
But he was overthrowing him too.
Yeah.
It said he targeted him 15 times or something.
Yeah, I thought it was 20.
It was crazy. I mean, he's the only guy on that team, and I'm kind of you drafted Ruggs in the first round a year ago. Is he a bust too? They just don't throw it to him at all.
It's looking like it, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh.
I don't know either. That was just weird.
Nah, but yeah, that I drafted Lamar too in fantasy, and I drafted him over Russell Wilson just for 2 reasons. One, I thought Lamar would have a bounce back year. I'm like, no way he can suck 2 years in a row. And 2, Russell Wilson, he's great from week 1 to week 10, but then after that he kind of stinks. So I was like, okay, I'm going with Lamar. I'm kind of regretting the decision right now because that was sus.
It's just 1 week though. I mean,
but it was sus. The Raiders defense not good. It did not make me feel good. I'll say that.
He'll have his day, but I don't know.
Lamar's still brilliant. He had some great runs. That touchdown pass to the Hollywood Brown was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
I mean, he shows those glimpses of just perfect throws sometimes, but
that line was just getting dominated.
I agree. Yeah, I've been looking at the Ravens the past couple of years, and I've kind of been like, hey, they're up there. I considered them basically a Super Bowl contender in the AFC with the Chiefs and the Bills. Honestly, I'd put them as the top 3 in the past, or at least last year, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. After that game I saw and then getting eaten apart by what I considered to be not that good of a defensive line. I guess they have Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing, especially in their division.
They get to go up against the Chiefs. They get to go up against the Chiefs this week, so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not looking good for them. I'm kind of
yeah.
This might be a crazy take, but is it time to move on from Lamar? I think he's the best.
I think Lamar should move on from them.
I agree, but I also I don't know. You're probably right, but I do think they kind of built the team. I think they kind of built their team and scheme to play around Lamar, if that makes sense.
Well, they're doing a bad job.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of if they can't do it, do they need to just let him go and say, hey, we're just going to
find an extension yet.
We're going to go back to a pocket passer and build our team around that. Who knows? I mean, they won a Super Bowl with Flacco, so.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Hopefully Lamar can figure it out and everything, but
I hope so.
I like him. I respect his game, but
no, for sure I do.
Hey, with a win again, if they can beat the Chiefs this next weekend, we'll talk about how good they are. So
for sure.
Always 1 week at a time, only week 1, but it wasn't too promising. I won't lie.
I agree. Like I
But
said,
you could be right. It could have been because of the crowd and everything that gave him an extra boost and all that kind of stuff.
I'm just,
We'll see.
I look at that team and I'm like, I'm not seeing the same thing I saw last year. And like I said, I don't know. I thought the opposite with the Packers almost. I'm kind of like, Packers will bounce back. But I'm like, what if they don't? Anyway, that's about all I have.
It's a long season. We got 18 freaking games or however many we got now.
That's crazy. Or 18 weeks, 17 games. One bye week, by the way, for 18 games.
Yeah, stupid.
For 17 games, one
NFLPA is a bunch of simps.
That's brutal. At least give them a second bye week. Come on now.
No, they just do whatever they want. What the owners want is stupid. They're being a bunch of simps. NFLPA join the podcast, I guess.
Roger Goodell come on the podcast.
Honestly, I'll take Roger Goodell on the podcast. Did you see him with the one ginger or whatever his name is, on Thursday night? What a combo! I forgot I know the guy's name. He's pretty famous.
Oh, Ed Sheeran.
Yes. What a combo there. Who would have thought?
Ed Sheeran come on the podcast. But that's about all I have for us today.
Yeah, so I think that's it for me too. We've probably been on the pod a minute. This is probably one of our longer episodes
pod ever. So for those of you that stuck around for the longest pod, I don't really have a treat for you actually, but thank you.
Comment down below
if you made it to the end.
Yeah, well, we gotta give them a saying. Say what should we say? Chocolate. Comment chocolate if you made it at this point. Then we'll know.
No,
maybe you'll get a prize.
Maybe some chocolate. If you see me in person and I have chocolate on me.
Yes. So comment down below. We'll find you. We'll send some or something. I don't know. But
all right, guys.
I think that's out from me. Should be a pretty good week of college football. Should be a good week of NFL. Hopefully my fantasy teams get the dub. And we'll see you peeps next week.
Adios, amigos.
Don't.